Chief Legal Analyst Khalif Rhodes to take a closer look at why there are some legal consequences after helping with this rebuild.
Well, because the North Carolina Department of Transportation is only responsible for building roads. And so in that situation, this is a private road, but if you're talking about a public road, they have that responsibility and they have steps to that process. You're talking about planning, you're talking about paving, you're talking about grading. There are a number of steps, and most of that takes a long time. And bureaucracy and like the wheels of justice move extremely slow. And so most of the folks that were coming in, even the Army Corps of Civil Engineers, said, yeah, this will take a few months. We'll come back and we'll look at it. Well, the North Carolina Department of Transportation said the exact same thing. Hey, this will take a few months. We'll come back and review it and figure out a plan to get this road open. The West Virginia boys, it seems like, looking at most of these posts, looking at the viral videos, that they took it into their own hands and went out there and rebuilt this road, or at least that's what the allegations are. And so I think a lot of that is we have a process that's in place on how these are supposed to do, and that's specifically from a liability standpoint. It's one thing to be able to move things, specifically, as they mentioned, move mountains, but also being able to ensure that you follow the procedure and processes in place. And I'm not saying they didn't, but that the Department of Transportation would do through their process. It seems like at some point somebody wasn't talking to someone.
Khalif, here's the thing. When we look at Western North Carolina, they are so thankful for people who want to come help, right? And these are well-intentioned people. They want to go to help. But here's the thing. We're not saying they broke the law, but even if you go up and help and you end up breaking the law, your intentions don't necessarily matter if you're doing something criminal, right?
I agree, and I don't think there's anything criminal about this process. It would probably be more of a civil issue, more of a fine.
Right.
And then you got to talk about this. If I'm advising the Department of Transportation from a legal standpoint, if there's something that happens after this, and these folks that were in these two towns, they just wanted to be able to get back and forth between that location. So I commend anyone for being able to step in and say, look, if the government isn't going to do what they need to do in a timely manner, we'll go ahead and do it. I'm never saying disobey the law, but what I am saying is if people are in need, sometimes life supersedes that. And I think this is a case where life was needing to go faster than the wheels of justice would allow it. But in these type of situations, I think there would be civil liability if, say, for instance, the road washed away.
Yeah.
And when I looked at some of the things that they talked about is if you don't go through their process, and I say they as in the Department of Transportation, they say that new road could lead to new landslides. And so they're saying that's why it would take longer for them to do something like this. Well, it may be a short-term fix. It may not be a long-term solution. And so then where does liability end? Because liability doesn't point to just the West Virginia boys. Now they could potentially be liable because they were there at the time when this was happening. So that they turned a blind eye. Even though, again, this is a feel-good story now, it could potentially lead to something negative in the future, which is a potential lawsuit if something bad happens, which I hope it doesn't.